Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wannabes podcast. I'm Morgan, and this is my fantastic co host, Dreaded. Sadly, there is no Luke tonight. He was not able to catch the movie because he had some car troubles. So,
Oof.
yeah. Hopefully,
Damn, Luke.
that gets repaired quick and easy for him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, guys, tonight I'm super excited for. We are reviewing the live action remake of one of my all time favorite animated movies, which is How to Train Your Dragon. I am very, very thrilled to talk about this. It's, based on a whole book by Rosetta Cowell and everything else. I literally didn't grab my book, but I see it over there. But yeah, so before we dive into our actual full on movie review of the 2025 live action How to Train Your Dragon and comparing it to the original 2010 movie, Dreaded, you had some movie news, or sorry, you had some entertainment news for us, correct?
Oh, yeah. I can talk about that little thing real quick. Hang
Yeah.
on, pull it up. Here we go. Okay, wait. Are we doing the transition?
Oh, they can hear us while the transition's going.
Okay, I got you. All right, so I'm gonna tell you guys a little story of how I even discovered this movie coming out. Now, it's not some big Hollywood blockbuster that's coming out, but I'm just happy to share it because it's cool. So about 3 years ago, I was chilling, watching YouTube, and I was watching this channel known as oh god, what is it called again? Hold on a sec. Is like I think it was Night Watch, I believe it was called the YouTube channel specifically, which dives into some creepy esque like YouTube videos and stuff like Night Mind. That's what it's called. That's into
Gotcha.
like you like creepy stuff actually. I'm a guy who likes to watch some creepy stuff before he goes to bed and stuff like that, or eat
What?
dinner and watch
You? No
creepy stuff.
way.
Well, of course now. But anyway, I came across this video. The title was called "Paranormal Paranoids: A Stunning Missing YouTuber Story." Basically, Night Mind just kind of goes into what was described as a little series that was going on the internet about a group of people who were ghost hunters who eventually went missing due to unknown circumstances, and it was getting interesting and stuff. But by the end of the video, it was actually stated that Chris Stuckman, who is a well-known movie critic on YouTube, along with some of the greats like Jeremy Johns, Star Critic, Angel Girl, all that stuff like that,
Sure.
was actually directing a movie based off of this whole little thing that was going on online, right?
Okay.
And I thought, oh, that's awesome. Actually, I hope to hear more about that. Now, keep in mind, I did say 3 years ago because there was a time period where I completely forgot about that video, and it came popping back into my head like, hey, what was that video I was watching that one night? And I couldn't remember for the life of me. I only sort of remember the title. Eventually, I did actually find it. I was super happy. And I didn't actually check back in on the whole, there's a movie on that coming out. But it wasn't until I think maybe last month when I was watching it again. And I like, so did anything of that ever come about? Turns out it did. Hardcore did.
Oh, very
Because
nice.
it turns out the film that is going to be called Shelby Oaks. No, it is called Shelby Oaks. If you follow the story, you understand why it's called that actually, because that was a kind of a big pointer in the ARG. For the record, this whole thing with the paranormal paranoids is an ARG. And one day it'll be up and everything, but if you go back and watch our Cloverfield reviews where I break down what ARGs are and I explain the whole backstory behind why anything even happened in a Cloverfield movie, so there's that. But yeah, for one, it's actually considered a 2024 movie because this film was debuted at Fantasia on July 20th, 2024, but will be officially released to like the public, I think being distributed by Neon, which is just an independent film production and distribution company on October 3rd, 2025, which makes me very happy to see that. So this something did come
That's
of this
awesome.
whole thing, actually. And for one, I'm really happy to see that YouTubers are seemingly getting more into film now. Like with this is being the first film Chris Stuckman is actually directing. And I'm still waiting to hear more about Iron Lung from Markiplier. But also, it's not a stacked cast, but it does have some names in there actually from Michael Beach, who some might know from Sons of Anarchy, Lean on Me, Aquaman, and Saw 10 actually. Oh, and Soul Food. We also have well, actually, another goat, Derek Mears, who is best known for playing Jason Voorhees in the 2009 Friday the 13th remake, which I'm still waiting for another Friday the 13th movie, and Derek Mears better play him again. But also, we've got goat himself, motherfucking Keith David, freaking Spawn up in this movie. So they got a couple names in there, and that's
Damn,
really cool, actually.
that's sick.
So yeah, I wanted to share that because that's I'm just so happy that this didn't just like not happen. It happened and is happening. And I'm actually really excited to see what the follow-up story from that ARG goes because hey, the ARG left us off on a big cliffhanger actually.
Mm.
So hang on. Can I actually find a synopsis really quickly without having to dive into the ARG? Okay, here we go. The synopsis of the film is a woman's desperate search for her long lost sister falls into obsession upon realizing that the imaginary demon from their childhood might have been real. So yeah, that's actually the only news I really have actually. But I'm just really happy that this is a thing.
What's crazy is it kind of reminds me a little bit. There are obvious differences, but it reminds me a bit of my one series I'm scripting.
Oh, oh, I
So
think I know. Oh, hey, the one we've talked about in depth.
my one ghost
Yeah,
hunting one, yeah.
yep, I remember that one. I remember that one. You know, I key, yeah. Oh, oh, have you fallen into the curse too? Where something being released is similar to something you created? Because oof, that's happened to me twice now.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking Stranger Things and Fear Street. Had-
It
So I'm
happens.
really, yeah, it does. So I'm just gonna say that I'm really happy this is happening, and I will definitely be catching this movie. And I mean, there's no trailer. I kind of wish there was, but there isn't. Maybe we'll get one at some point in the future, before like closer to October. And not a guarantee we'll probably review it here, but shoot, maybe we'll talk about it and see if I can convince you to
It's
watch
always
it.
possible. You never know.
Cool, cool. So that's actually all the news I had.
So I do have one bit of news.
Oh, okay.
So, as everybody knows, I'm a big like Pirates of the Caribbean fan,
Caribbean.
and that is official that Disney's long-awaited Pirates of the Caribbean 6
That's more like it.
will see the return of some familiar faces. So the franchise producer Jerry Bruckheimer has actually confirmed this, and yeah, they're bringing the producer has actually teased returning cast, and Orlando Bloom has said that it's time to get the band back together, which is curious. So I feel like right there, that is a confirmation for Orlando Bloom. But we had heard during the trials between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard that
Fuck
Johnny
that
Depp
bitch.
would not return to the Pirates franchise. So I'm very curious to see who are the faces we're seeing, and are we going to be pleasantly surprised to actually see Mr. Depp himself?
Well,
I want him back.
fo- did, did Jack Sparrow's story end in a place where you can say he doesn't have to return, or is there still more for him?
Ah, it's been so long. I'd have to go watch 5 again.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, if he's not coming back, um, considering how hoed he got, I do get it, even though I'm pretty sure the world wants to see him return, especially Raven Wings here.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with, with chat because only because in my opinion, like there has been no setup for this franchise and world to follow anyone else other than. Not that they can't, but I do fear that it would be jarring for the viewer base.
It'll be too different, definitely. And this, I mean, I don't actually watch those movies, but even I know, like, ooh, doing that without Jack, I don't know. I mean, it's saying like Fast and Furious, you get a whole other group of characters who you can still follow, but still,
Sure, sure.
yeah. So they one of the characters he's most known for. Yeah, but shit, that whole trial really fucked him up. And fuck Amber Heard, I hate you. Well, all right. Well, I guess we'll see what goes on there.
Indeed. Was there any other
Yep.
news, or was that it for you?
I think that was oh snap! I just remembered. Everyone, don't cut away from this too. Hang on, y'all. I gotta call my boss real quick about something very, 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 very important.
Yes, dreaded.
Hey, Morgan. Listen. I did some research here. So July 2nd is gonna fall on a Wednesday. That's typically podcast day. I'm gonna have to call in sick that day. I'm not actually sick. I just want to see Jurassic World Rebirth on the opening night. So this is my official call in on July 2nd.
Oh, okay. Um, so it opens on the second. This
Yeah, that's actually when it releases. July 2nd
weird. They're
is.
doing a Wednesday showing.
I know that's what I said. Should.
Well,
So yeah, but I
uh,
gotta call. I gotta call off that day.
okay. Well, we're going together then, right?
I hope so. I'm gonna convince Raven to come too, cause shit, I gotta. I mean, I gotta catch Jurassic World on first day, cause why the hell not?
I
Oh,
agree.
hey, here you go, Morgan. I'm on stream right now. Someone just called us a dork. Can you hold for a sec? Who are you calling a dork? Okay, I'm back.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go because I'm also on a stream right now.
Oh no way, we should collab.
Yeah, yeah, collabing would be great.
All right, cool. I'll call you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye. Sorry
Not
about that,
scripted.
chat.
Not
Sorry.
scripted at all, chat. Genuinely not scripted.
Hey, I like to keep things random.
He does. He does. Anyway, uh, we are dorks, and it's great. But it takes one to know one.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so with that being said, we're good to dive into our movie review. Yeah.
Yep, let's talk about it. Let's go into How to Train Your Dragon 2025.
I'm
Let us begin.
so excited for this episode. So genuinely, I want to state this now for everybody going into this review to understand. We are going to talk about spoilers because this film came out also 15 years ago. So this is
Yeah.
just a remake, and it is very, very close to an almost one for one remake.
Oh, I'll
And
talk about that too.
we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it. Um, but before I dive into box office and budget and everything, like we always do for these films, and I will be comparing those to the 2010 film as well. That way you can just see the comparisons. But what I'm getting at is I want everybody to know that going into this review, the 2010 How to Train Your Dragon, it's a 10 out of a 10 movie for me. It's a 10
Ooh,
for me. Like we are talking about one of my favorite animated films of all time. I
okay.
read this book twice growing up, and it is the only film I can say is better than the book.
Hmm.
So, just laying that groundwork for y'all now. But before we dive into the official review, let's discuss budget and box office and everything. So, first things first, we're going to talk about runtime. So, for this live action film, it was 125 minutes, where the original 2010 film was 98 minutes. So, it is a little longer, and we'll discuss later on why that is. Now, we have the budget for the 2010 was $165 million, where the 2025 was $150 million.
Hmm.
Surprisingly a little cheaper. Um, but let's talk
Well,
about
damn.
the box office. Now, I have the overall box office numbers for everything. So let me scroll on down to the box office numbers I have for us. Thank you for the clip, Kitty. Much appreciated. Okay, so real quick, everybody. I'm gonna talk about first things first, the 2010 film for its box office. So, How to Train Your Dragon 2010 topped North American box office with 43.7 million in its first weekend release. The film grossed 217.6 million in the United States and Canada and 277.3 million in foreign countries with a worldwide total of $494.9 million. This How to Train Your Dragon is DreamWorks' highest animation, is DreamWorks Animation's highest grossing film in the American and Canadian box office, other than the Shrek films. It was actually the fifth highest grossing animated film of 2010, behind Toy Story 3. And yeah, so it also is behind Forever After, Tangled, Despicable Me, and yeah, there was a lot of it had a lot of big ones to go against that year. Back the the early 2000s was very animation heavy. Anyway, I only bring this up. We are not going to see this large of a number for the 2025 How to Train Your Dragon, and that is only because, well, this is its final box office number for the 2010. We're just talking about the first weekend. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual box office for the 2025 live action. So as in the United States and Canada, the film was released alongside The Materialists and was projected to gross about 65 to 80 million from 4,000 theaters in its opening weekend. So the film made 35.6 million on its first day, including 11.1 million from preview screenings. It went on to debut to 83.7 million, topping the box office and marking the best opening of the series. It was the fourth highest opening weekend of 2025 up to that point, behind a Minecraft movie, Lilo and Stitch, and Captain America Brave New World. Now, as of June 16th, 2025, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action, has grossed 93.2 million in the United States and Canada and 113 million in other territories, which brings us to a worldwide total of 206.2 million US dollars. Now, this is just for its one weekend. That is it. Like, it has not been a full week since the show has aired of when it came out, even for its Thursday night previews. So it is things are already showing that it's going to continue to climb from here. I believe that there is a little bit of some people holding off to hear and see what people's reception of the film is. And honestly, it's been a lot of big things have been going out, and a lot of big things have been being said about this film. So I'm very curious to see how these numbers are going to continue to scale and grow.
All right. And there goes our news for box office.
Yes, that is it for the box office. Now, for anybody who needs to know, the plot to this, well, it's so great. So
It's the same.
it's the
It's
same.
literally the same.
Like,
It's the
so
exact same.
yeah, the plot for just in case there's anybody who's listening, watching that isn't familiar with the plot at all. So, dragons frequently attack a Viking village called Burke. They steal livestock and endanger the villagers. And basically, it is the Viking way to defeat these dragons and to keep their lands safe from dragons. But there is Hiccup Horrendous Haddock III. He is the 16-year-old son of the chieftain Stoic the Vast and is the apprentice to the local blacksmith Gobber. So he has made many attempts to create mechanical devices to overcome his physical weakness because he's not built like the other Vikings, but he desperately wants to become one. So this story is a story of him finding himself, being accepted by not only his people but his father, but also coming to terms with who he is and honestly reveling in it, while also saving the relationship between humans, specifically these Vikings and the dragons, and forming really great makes me cry bonds.
Hmm.
There you go. That's your recap of the plot.
Yep, pretty much.
So, Dreaded, where do you want to start?
Well, I want to say one thing first. This is a
Sure.
very important thing for me to say. So you just stated, for one, this is your one of your all-time favorite movies, animated movies, 10 out of 10 for you, right? I want to say this off the back right now. How to Train Your Dragon, the original movie released in 2010. Yeah, I'm 15 years late because I actually only just finally actually watched How to Train Your Dragon literally a few days ago with Morgan and Dan.
We made sure it happened.
Yeah,
We
when
actually made sure the first two. He has officially seen the first two for the first time only less than a week ago, y'all.
yeah, what day was that again? That was on, I want to say it was a Saturday.
I think it might have been Saturday.
Yeah, so literally, like barely a week ago, I finally, for the first time, saw How to Train Your Dragon. I just never got around to it. Some movies I know, like people say, they're great and everything. I just never got around to certain things. Hell, remember how long it took me to watch Stranger Things?
Yeah.
So yeah. So
How did you like the original?
well, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I see why people like it. I thought it was a good movie. I'm gonna state right now though, How to Train Your like I know you love it. How to Train Your Dragon is not gonna be up there at all for me and anything like that, but it was a good movie.
Sure.
So you know what? Yeah, that'll spoil what I rate this movie actually. So I'll talk about what I rate the OG one at the end of the review, like we usually
That's
do
fair.
anyway.
No, that's good. That's good.
But for what it's worth, How to Train Your Dragon was good. I thought it was good.
Very nice. So I think we should just go ahead and talk about how one for one this film was.
Hmm.
So a lot of the scenes, and they even showed this in the marketing of like one for one scenes were going to be from the animated film to this live action. And I think that was extremely, extremely important because they are taking a very, very beloved franchise, not only by myself, but by many, many others. And you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, we don't need it live action. The animations were already good enough." Blah blah blah. And then they surprised us by showing how much attention to detail they were putting into this live action. And we're a lot. Basically, the majority of us were like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you a try. We're gonna see how it goes." There were some questions about casting, and like, we'll get there. I'm not There's a couple casting things I'm a little disappointed in, but we'll talk about that when we get to that point. But for the most part, there is a lot of one for one. However, there are some scenes that are cut out that I personally wish were there, but honestly aren't super super important. Like
Hmm.
there's also scenes that are extended that, in my opinion, in one spot didn't need to be extended. And well, we will get there because I don't want to like jump ahead too deep because that's near the end of the film. Um, but this is actually impressively pretty close one for one of the film of the original
Hmm.
film, and I love it. But there is a lot of people online hating on it, in like especially the critics. Like it's so interesting right now. Like Rotten Tomatoes, for example, the fan base versus the critic base are very split. The critics
Oh
are being
boy.
a lot harsher, which they're still at a 78% critic view rating, so like still a really good rating. But like versus the 98% that it has from like the actual fans.
Hmm.
But a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, what's the point of doing a remake and a live action when you're like just doing reiterating the exact same story?" Which is crazy to me that people are saying that when everybody else in the past would be like, you had an amazing story. Why did you go and change it?
There's no satisfying.
So it's like
Really.
exactly. It is very much. I feel like this film, sadly, is getting, especially from the critics, the full resounding, and you can't ever make anybody happy.
Hmm.
It's mind-boggling. I'm thrilled that this is so close to the original. There are a few minor changes they have made to this film, and mostly the assert. There It's some stuff to do with Astrid, which isn't a bad thing. There's a couple additions and lines that I liked. There was some less lines that I think hurt the film in some ways. And then there's a whole addition near the end of with Astrid that annoyed me. But get there when I get there because that's a whole different conversation other than like the setup of the film.
Hmm.
So that's me complaining about Astrid. But anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
how did you feel about everything?
Well, if I'm being real, I felt the exact same when I saw the original. I liked it. It was good. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it was so on the nose, like remake, like basically quote unquote the same. Like, I got the same opinion.
Honestly,
I don't.
I wish more remakes were this close to a fucking remake, like, as this was. Like,
You know what's funny though? Because I'm not gonna. This is not a bad thing because this remake reminds me of the Lion King live action remake, but done right. Because the thing, one
very
of the
fair.
issues I take, one of the issues I took with Lion King was how quote unquote lazy things felt.
Mhm.
Like the best example is, the beginning original Lion King. Rafiki takes baby Simba to show him off, and he's all like, "Look at him! Look!" Live action just sits there like, "Hey guys, check this out!" Like, and that's what the film was like. Oh, we got a problem.
Yeah.
But this movie really feels like all the excitement, the intensity, and the heart that the original had is still there. So you're still like invested in it. So big props for actually, remaking important and memorable scenes and still making them feel pretty awesome, actually.
Mhm.
But for most of the time, like, yeah, I mean, I'm watching the same movie live action, and it's well done live action. The effects look great, actually.
There was just
The
so much attention to detail, and that's
the
so important to this film.
the design of the dragons themselves are actually really, really good, especially the
I
one that sets
loved
itself on
'em.
fire. Yeah,
Yes.
that one. Oh, okay. This is gonna be interesting.
You're talking about the
Uh,
monstrous nightmare, by the way.
that's what it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, I'm not gonna lie, it looked better live action if you ask me.
No,
Now,
that's
this is a
fair.
me thing. I like my dragons to be looking mean sometimes.
Yeah, so let me see if I can find it. Like they even in the books, like here, this is a good let me show you what some of them look like.
Hmm.
So, for example, here's like the drawings we get in the book. It's
Uh-huh.
meant to be
Okay.
very kiddish, very like derpy. This is Hiccup.
Oh God.
So
Well,
like
I mean, what's y'all expected to do something with all of that? Yes, I just gestured to all of him.
I love you. Um like let me see if I can find any of the if there's anything for the dragon. Like this was a drawing here of Toothless.
Wow.
Like, it's very much a
Uh,
kids movie. This has very much been
yeah.
evolved from the
Hmm.
book. So, it is, or here you go. Here you go. This is a very good, one for you. This is their drawing of, I believe, the monstrous nightmare, which is this one here, the fire one you're talking about. So, it kinda has that longer, like, snout and everything that we see in the
Yes, I
films,
see.
but I think, like, because these were made animated and meant to be a little bit more for kids, I do think they took on a little bit more of a derpy look in the animation. There's still an
Hmm.
upgrade, in my opinion, from the drawings we get in the book,
Oh,
but then,
absolutely,
yes,
yes.
these get a lot more realistic. There are specific scenes that I'm like, "Okay, they really took, some pages out of, like, the House of Dragon, for, like, Game of Thrones House of Dragon kinda stuff, with, like, some of, like, even the bellowing and how, like, we see, like, near the end, the queen dragon, if you will, like, do its big roar and
Hmm.
everything. They did a lot of things they did a very similar shot that I've seen in The House of Dragon that works so good for an intimidating dragon shot.
There
So,
you go.
they did a really good job, I think, taking the kind of the more slightly derpy, like, animated versions of the dragons and really upgrading them to feel more fantasy realistic.
Hmm. So, so all the dragons look really good, and Toothless
Mhm.
is 100% freaking accurate to
Yes.
animated Toothless.
Absolutely. Even
Now,
like the little mannerisms and like the little way he tries to
mhm,
move his mouth or his eyes, like the little quirks, they got so close as possible as they could to the animation because there's a little bit more freedom. It's a little easier to animate things than it is to do the CG work for everything because
mhm.
now you're dealing with hyper realism comparatively to you can get away with some stuff because it's animated and people's brains like, oh, it's animated, it's meant to be that way.
Yeah, so they do a really good job with that. Okay, how do I word this actually?
What are you trying to word?
I'm trying to word that okay, because when we were watching it, I mean, I've called Toothless basically he's a giant doggy, or he's a giant freaking cat,
Yeah,
or he's
kids are cat.
sassy and all that good stuff, right? You said hyper real. He's got a lot of emotions to show, a lot of not necessarily anthropomorphic, but like some aspects to that where you see like you can tell what he's thinking or what he might be saying, even though he doesn't speak English and stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, Toothless looks very accurate. Um, how do I word this? I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm also kind of saying like it does kind of feel a little jarring because all the other dragons have a because even in the movie you said they look more in the original animated movie they say they seem more a bit dopey, but because it's still a kids movie. The movie takes a liberty of like they still look the same, but they kind of look more realistic if that makes sense too.
Mhm.
Almost like the live action kind of made me believe, oh okay, because when I was watching the animated movie, I mean, it wasn't really a complaint. It's just a nitpick. Like, these dragons look so damn goofy, silly, childish and stuff. But the live action made me think, hey, actually, these things probably could look like this and make it work.
Yeah.
Uh, Toothless. I mean, again, completely accurate. But when it turns to live action, I'm just like, maybe some more realism. Not so much that it would not look like Toothless, but maybe enough that if you wanted to translate this to a live action, oh shit, how am I wording this?
See,
Look, I'm
I
not trying to.
don't mind how he looks because he's one of the most from the if we're comparing him to like if we're just looking at the animation specifically, right?
Mhm.
Toothless is probably the most normal-esque looking dragon outside of maybe the monstrous nightmare.
Oh, I
Because the
thought you were
rest of them
definitely like.
are very they're very different. Like you look at the ones that are very bulbous, or the other ones look more almost slight, kind of like kind of T-Rex kind of style. But with like very, I'm like blanking on what I'm trying to think of for like to explain their movements. To explain it like I'm specifically speaking of Stormfly at the moment. But there's I don't know, I think he was able to be so perfectly accurate to to the animation in the live action because he was the one dragon that felt the most like a dragon out of them
Mm,
all, at least in his physicality. So, and we'll see just him more.
true. I don't know. It's a weird, not even criticism, but just a thing to point out because I don't have all the words for it. Like I like that he's accurate. I like that this feels it's genuinely toothless. But at the same time, when I look at Toothless versus the other dragons, like again, I think the most dragon-esque was the Monstrous Nightmare, if you
True.
ask me, because I hardcore agree with that. And I was like, for live action, I still sometimes think I'm looking at a big cat, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, like,
Well, I mean, the whole thing even before, like, his whole design and the way he moves and everything was 100% based off of the movement of felines.
oh
So,
yeah,
he's meant to be more cat-like, and I think that's because, like, all the different dragons have different categories and different quirks and different movement styles. Like, they're even like that in the book.
mm,
So, I think, like, that's why. Like, that was a very big important part of even, like, animating Toothless in general was that he was more cat-like in comparison to other dragons. He's more
mhm.
sneaky, he's more intelligent, he's more sassy, that sort of thing. And so, like, I think if they didn't translate that same sort of thing, the Rotten Tomatoes fan rating would not be 98% right now.
Hmm. All right. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that. The point, it's not really a criticism. It's just something I just couldn't help but think. Like,
Sure,
okay.
sure.
But other than that, well, yeah, very, 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 very accurate. What was it? Flying sequences with Toothless are. What did you think?
So, okay, I liked them. I think they were really pretty. I think they were pretty stunning. However,
Mhm.
Dan and I, my husband and I both wish that there were more, like, POV shots from, like, Hiccup's, like, kind of
Perspective.
perspective. We see a little bit in the animation. I feel like we don't get enough of that here. There is a
Mm.
heavy use of motion blur, which this is again is just being like very nitpicky. Like I don't mind how it looks. I actually like how it looks. But if I want to get nitpicky, I think I would have liked things in more detail rather than having to use the aid of motion blur to help aid the CGI bit and or to help mask the fakeness of the CGI. But for
Yeah,
the most,
okay.
I think there was only like one or two spots where I noticed where it was like where it was really really obvious they were on a green screen, but it was not ever like in my face enough to ever like kind of
Dislike
like
it.
yeah dislike it or like to jar me out of the film.
Hmm. No, that makes sense because I'm with you there. It was nice. It was funny. I like the. I mean, out of all the effects, I think the water effects was the most nice for me.
The water effects were really
But
nice.
yeah, the shaky cam motion blur wasn't helping, and this is how I knew it wasn't as good because I literally told you when I first watched the OG. Damn, I see. Like, if I watched this in 3D, this would have been awesome. But that scene in the live action, I'm like, I don't need to see that in
It was
3D.
also interesting. If we're going to talk about the moment of the test drive, so the first time they're flying after doing their
Mm,
cheat sheets and doing their practicing, right? The big flight together. It's interesting because they actually um It's actually adjusted because they extend the scenes we see of him falling. The music is different in that moment, which I didn't like the change to the music score. Like because they extended it, they had to do like a kind of a lead up bit before it gets into like the like the more like deep like something's going wrong, like the tone shift that we get. It has a weird
Mhm.
lead up to that part instead because they extended that scene by giving more shots of like the flailing hiccup, you know, freaking out Toothless, that there was more there, so and it didn't need it. I don't think it needed to be extended.
Funny enough, I actually like that part. That was the one time the shaky cam and the motion blur actually helped the
I
scene.
agree, like, when you're falling, 100%.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I think there was one moment where they first started flying or whatever that it was way too shaky for my liking.
Oh yeah.
I remember there was one specific moment I was like, "This is a little too shaky."
Mm. Yeah, the shaky cam for the first flight definitely took me out of the magic of that. I was thinking either adapt actually again from How to Train Your Dragon, or if you wanted it to be photorealistic, shit, watch Avatar. So when Jake takes his first flight on the Banshee, I'm like, shit, that'd have been good inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's that. So dragons look great and very accurate, including ooh, the queen at the end.
Mhm.
I'll be real with you. That's another one that I like. Okay, I think I like this one better live action too. Not saying that it wasn't intense in the OG, but I think
No, no,
live
it
action
looks
Queen
sick.
was
It
a bit
looks
more
fucking
intense.
sick.
Yeah.
So, there is one thing in
Ooh.
before we get away from the test drive, like the flight and
Mhm.
everything. I just wanna mention that there was a scene that they cut out right out that happens after that in the animation, where it's them just, like, at a fire, like, kinda talking about everything, and he's eating fish, and Hiccup's, like, cooking a fish, and then we have some of the terrible terrors show up and wanting the fish, and trying to steal the fish from Hiccup, and that's when we see Hiccup shoot one of them with breath in their own mouth, and that's when Hiccup learns, "Oh, you're not so tough on the inside," because that
Oh
later
right.
is important information for the for the big battle at the end of the film. Is it, like, something that needed to be in there? But I really l no, but I do really like the fact that we had that added information in the animation, and I think it's a scene that takes only, like, 2 minutes, if that, and I think it would have been a nice added scene even into this because it's a moment where you see Hiccup is not only befriended Toothless, but he's starting to befriend other dragons. Other
And
dragons
learning
are
about them
getting
too.
comfortable around him, and he's learning about them. Like, I think that would have been a I think sadly that is the one scene that they cut. There did not cut many that I wish they had kept in.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna disagree. I think that needs to stay because I'm gonna be when you think about it, because in the live action, how did Toothless know at the end how he beats the queen? That would work.
Well, Toothless would know. It's a more of a matter of Hiccup knowing.
Yeah, okay, so Toothless knowing, yeah, but the OG made it a point of learn for us to learn with them why that would work, why that was a good idea. I didn't question it at the time because keep in mind I just watched it like the other day, and I'm watching this and
Sure,
it's the same, so
sure.
like didn't click in my head honestly immediately. But now I'm thinking like, yeah, no, that should have stayed. That's good, showing how Hiccup learned how to beat the boss, and that tells us the
Yeah.
audience how you beat the boss.
Absolutely. And then it also, shows like the progression of him with not just Toothless, but with other dragons. And
Hmm.
then on top of then seeing him in the ring when he's going through his training, his Slayer's training. So
Yeah.
yeah. That was just because it happened to be like right with what in the same area where we were talking. I wanted to mention that before I forgot it.
Before I forget too, going back to the Queen Dragon, there's a shot they took out that I would no. There's two things they took out that were my favorite shots of the OG movie that weren't there. One is when all the Vikings were looking for the nest, and when they encountered some dragons, and you just saw the silhouette. And two, when Toothless and Hiccup are fighting Queen in the clouds, you see the silhouette of the massive thing in the damn sky.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, you
do
saw the
wish.
explosions. I was
Yeah,
like,
you saw
oh,
like the silhouette of it.
yes,
You didn't see necessarily the silhouettes of them like going to the like
nest.
when you're on the water when you're heading to the nest. There weren't silhouettes. They were actually perched on the rocks, and they say the line like, "Why aren't they reacting?" Like
I
they were present in the live action. Just so you know.
I I have to. No, I saw that. I'm not talking about that part. I don't think. Like not when they had Toothless going to the nest. Before that, when they were looking for it, but they didn't find it. when Hiccup's during
Oh,
his
no, they
training.
did. They had, like, tails and stuff moving through it. I totally saw it. You might have blinked and missed it, to be honest with you.
Hmm, I might have to go to the original animation animated one again
Sure.
to look at that scene
Sure,
if
sure,
I'm
sure.
thinking of the right
They might have
stuff.
done it differently, but I did catch, like, a couple, like, that, like, subtle tail movement and stuff like that.
Mm, okay. But yeah, they took the massive silhouette of the queen in the sky out. I was like, no, yeah, like chat, y'all gotta understand stuff like that. That makes me horny. I love shit like that. I remember the movie 65. Yeah, that Adam Driver dinosaur movie.
Yeah.
I mean, despite how mediocre it was, one of the coolest things was the silhouette of that giant dino behind the waterfall. And I was like,
That's such
oh
a good shot.
yeah.
Such a good shot.
Like, ooh, if you get silhouette giant things before they reveal themselves, you make me happy.
Mhm. Let's
Like
see.
shit. All right, we can talk
What
about the
did do
characters.
I was gonna say, do we wanna get into like, characters and cast?
Sure, let's do it.
Because I have a lot to say here.
All right. I let me go first. I'm probably gonna
Sure.
say less.
Sure.
Um, I have no. I think it's fine. I mean, for me, just I thought it was fine. I think the main dude is Hiccup worked. I mean,
I
Gerald
agree.
Butler is back, so that's really happy.
I mean, Jarrell Butler is just playing stoic again. He voiced stoic, now he's
Exactly.
playing stoic. I loved it.
So yeah.
Jarrell Butler may have been a little bit smaller than how they depict, um, stoic, but I'm not gonna get nitpicky on that because I still have my stoic being stoic. So
Yeah, it works at the end of the day. So I thought casting was honest. I thought it was fine. I thought it was.
I I mostly agree with you.
So who do
Um,
you not?
so there isn't anybody that I'm like, "Oh, they were awful," but there are a couple that I'm disappointed in. Now, I'm
Mm,
disappointed in the twins.
mm,
Um, Firstly, they're supposed to be blonde, but I'm not gonna get very picky on that. I don't mind that that was changed, but I think that they definitely had some of their lines were cut out. There were still some really good ones, but I feel like the twins were more prominent in
mm-hmm,
for Rough and Tough Nut, and I feel like I wanted more of them. They had some better lines or more lines rather in the original that I wish we still had.
mm-hmm.
The rest were fine. My main problem is Astrid. Um,
Oh, okay.
there was actually a lot of heat around the casting of Astrid because of how much the actress does not look like her. And
Mm-hmm,
personally did not mind that Nico Parker was cast as Astrid, that she doesn't look like the typical like blonde-haired Scandinavian white woman. That's fine.
mm-hmm,
I don't mind that. However, Nico needed to step up her fucking game because she was too deadpan. Like Astrid
mm-hmm,
is very snarky. She's very sassy especially in the beginning. And then you see closer to finally starts to break and like kind of open up, kind of get more soft if you will to Hiccup. And we get a little bit of that with Nico. And then we get more of the emotion. I feel like she was just very emotionless in the beginning. Like where we're like I wanted her to get more mad or at least show more facial expression. She didn't. She was very much like the same tone facially for a lot of the beginning part of the film, which
mm,
was bothersome to me because the rest of what she was doing was fine. I think her delivery was fine, but I didn't feel the emotion or the sassiness of Astrid behind her, especially early film Astrid when she's her most sassy of all. Because like
mm-hmm,
when she finally like adjusts and like gets softer with Hiccup, that kind of sets the tone for Astrid for the rest of the franchise. And she just
mm-hmm,
gets more strong and confident within like this fun, playful, sassy, but like confident woman. But I feel like she was just too deadpan in the beginning half. Second half of the film, she gets better. However, and I'm gonna bring up the scene that I'm upset about at the end of the film. They make her kind of have be more important than she needs to be in this film. And I only say that not that she isn't important because she is, but I
mm-hmm,
say that because and I think it's because they wanted to set up their relationship a little bit more and a little deeper than what they did in the first film or in like the original film. When at the end, when they don't even know if Hiccup is alive or dead, and doesn't
Mm,
even know that Toothless has Hiccup under his wing and in his feet. When Stoic goes up and like is apologizing, but to Toothless and thanking him for what he
mhm,
did, that is such a deep emotional moment between kind of father and son. But it's a moment where like you see moments of Stoic breaking and accepting Toothless and accepting Hiccup in the situation. But that's when he finally like gives all in to Toothless
mm,
and to their new future and livelihood, right? And to just this new scenario that Stoic finds himself that is very earth shattering to what his life had been up until now. And for her to get, not that I'm saying she shouldn't have gotten emotional, but for her to break away from the rest of the Vikings, to approach, to like have her own kind of reaction to everything, and to like try to like grab Stoic and like console him, if you will. I don't mind it, but I wanted it to just be Stoic again because I feel like it landed heavier with me in the original. Just watching
mm.
Stoic and Stoic alone break. Because he is a chieftain who usually has to take everything on his own and on his lonesome. And for him to also take this potential grief on alone in front of his entire clan, I think was really heavy and really deep and emotional. And I feel like her stepping up took away from that.
Mm.
Again, for
I
the most
get
part,
where
I
you're.
do like Astrid, but those are my critiques on her. Like, she is the one character, or in rather portrayal of the character, that is the weakest in my opinion. I think there are
Mm.
moments where she shines, but there's other areas where either whether it be the writing, the directing, or even just the actress really still needing to like find her foothold as Astrid. Like, I think we Astrid could have been more refined, if you will.
So I get it. Yeah, I got all those points actually too. When it comes to the deadpanness, I did sort of notice that too. And then I thought about Astrid in the animation. This is a weird comparison to make, but I wonder if it was I don't want to say necessarily deliberate. Well, I'll just say this. Oh shit, am I thinking about the right stuff? Astrid in the animated, I'm gonna bring in freaking anime terms right now. Astrid in the animated movie feels maybe a bit more tsundere-ish, I guess you can say, and then live action. I know there's a saying for this dere type, but maybe just a bit more stoic, a bit more serious, but still has a heart when you like get to know her. While tsunderes are definitely more mean spirited. I don't know. That's just kind of what I got out of it too, high key.
See, the thing is that
And
that's and if that's how you get it, that's wrong. Because she was being like, okay, let me find a right way to say this. So they added a line where Hiccup says, this was not in the original, but he says like,
mm,
"I know you're the child my father always wanted. He looks up to you. Probably like she's like, I'm coming to your house, that big house,
mhm,
blah blah blah." I love that addition because that is a very Astrid thing to say, especially in that moment. And I think she delivered that well. But it was kind of the in betweens where she's starting to notice things. She's starting to
mm,
get angry that Hiccup's taking the limelight away from her. It's those moments where I feel like the she was very lack of expression. And I feel like Astrid, I don't know how, I can't explain how, because I do think animated Astrid is also a little less expressive. I think she gets
mm.
more expressive as the story goes on, but I feel like I still was able to get a little bit more from animated Astrid than I was from live action Astrid in those moments of like annoyance or like inquisitiveness and trying to watch him and figure things out. I felt like there could have just been a little tweaks, little bit more refinement to that acting of her early live action film. I was pretty okay with how she acted the second half.
Gotchas. What was I gonna say? Now going to the ending where a stoic and she has, I guess, the little moment. It's actually the fact that you bring up that extra line is, I think, why that was there actually.
I agree, and I 100% agree with you.
And I
But
actually like that
I
little addition.
always
Like,
I always look at this I always look at this film as kind of the story of repairing, of not only like Hiccup accepting himself, and finding confidence within himself and just being like, "It's okay to just be me. I don't have
Mhm.
to be someone else for the sake of being someone else." I also find it to be a healing story for him and his father.
Mhm.
And that's why, like, I just wanted that focus to be on them. Especially in movie 2, Stoic Fish is like, "I want you to become chieftain." She's not even a thought. That like, she's obviously going to be the chieftain's wife. The relationship continues if anybody doesn't know that in the animation, the 2 and 3, like, they do get married. Sorry, like, they're in the for the long haul, Astrid and Toothless. So she does end up having in that position of power as well as the chieftain's wife. But he didn't say, "Hey, Hiccup, I think Astrid should be chief and you just be her husband." Like, no, in the films, Hiccup becomes the chief. And it's great for her to have this ambition, but it's not whatever happens.
Mm. Who knows? Maybe there can be some kind of new storyline they add with sequels for this live action. Because yes, there will be one apparently. It looks like. But all in all, I just didn't mind the her approaching him. Actually, maybe she just felt in that moment comfortable because maybe Toothless just saying that it just gave her just a little reassurance. Like maybe he'll accept my
Sure.
sympathies and comfort in this moment and
Maybe
understand that hey, like maybe we didn't have that much history, but I'm sad that he's possibly gone too.
sure. And like in general, like because I think they did a decent job like setting up like the beginning of the relationship.
Gentlemen,
I don't hate what happened with Astrid in that regard. I
time out
just
real quick.
don't okay. I just to finish up the chat, you know, I
Oh, thank
I
God.
didn't hate it. I wanted it to be more about Stoic and Hiccup and Toothless.
Okay, that was never mind. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries.
I thought for the briefest second, like, oh shit, I closed my window because it's raining at the moment,
It
and
is storming
sometimes
over here.
I get water over here. Okay, we're good. Anyway, but for all in all, I get where you're coming from. I don't think it bothered me that much, but I see it now. Like now you
And
bring it like, okay, I can't unsee that, but it wasn't really a
like
huge bother for
like
me, I
it
guess.
wasn't like I was saying when you took your headset off. It wasn't bad. I don't hate it, but I don't love it because in this moment, especially the story for me, it is the focus of the story isn't honestly Astrid and Hiccup. It's Hiccup, his father, and Toothless, and like getting their world to now collide with one another's. So
Hmm.
that's my this again. That is me being very like nitpicky. Like it's not a bad scene, but I liked the original better.
I know I just saw, but I need you to remind me. Did Astrid punch Hiccup a few times and say that's for scaring me and all that stuff again in the
Yes,
movies?
yes,
Okay, she did.
yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, I think Gerard Butler's just he does great as Stoic again. So I
Gerald
don't really have much
Butler
to
did
say.
a fantastic job. Nick Frost did a fantastic job uh as Gobber. I think he
Mhm.
was he. I think he took on the mantle of Gobber very well.
Other than Gerald Butler, the only other person that I know in this movie was Julian Dennison, who was Fire Fist in Deadpool 2, and oh god, what the hell is his name in Godzilla? Josh in Godzilla vs Kong.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think he was actually pretty well casted for what the hell is his name? Fish Legs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Fish Legs was really good. Um, Snotlout, I think that was a fantastic did a really good job with the role that he got. The
I,
twins could have been a little better. The thing is I know damn well right now about the twins is everybody who is hating on the twins is saying, you could have just like if only you guys had casted the twins that we were seeing on social media who are the actors for Rough and Tough Nut at
mhm.
Epic. Like cuz the actors they have for like the Epic Isle of Berk they're crazy
Mhm.
good. And
Oh, gosh.
they embody those characters so much. Like they have the voice, they have the cadence and the walk. Like I kind of felt like they were a little lacking, but they become more in the forefront in the next films, in my opinion, than they are in the first.
Gotcha. Also, I forgot. This is it's such a, it's like little, but I just liked it. I like the addition of Snotlout's dad.
So Snotlout's dad is there.
Oh, really?
Yes. He is the one of the main guys you actually see, outside of Gobber around Stoic, even in the
Oh, okay.
animated films. And there is the things that with, like, Snotlout and his father are a little more subtle in the
Mhm.
animated film where they make them much more prominent. And I think that's them actually diving a bit more into the book because
Mhm.
that interesting family dynamic was a little bit more prominent in the book than it was in the original animation.
Gotcha.
It
Okay.
was there kind of in the animation, but it was really, really subtle, like,
Yeah.
extremely subtle.
I actually like that it was a bit more
I did too.
there. In this
I did
one.
too. It explains more of Snotlout's character,
That is true. That is very true.
which you get and I will say you get more of the explanation and understanding of Snotlout's character to truth be told, in the animated show, Race to the Edge.
Oh, okay. I got you. Also, I don't know why, but Snotloud really reminded me of Flash Thompson from the MCU Spider-Man movies. He kind of looked
Mm.
like him too, if I'm being real. Kinda.
It's the guy from I think it was Hannah Montana?
I remember him mostly from the movie Dope. That's when I first saw him. Could have been. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we've gone through the dragon designs, the effects, the story being the same. We've gone through the characters and some of the minor changes thrown into here and there. And I remember you told me this before I even saw this one, but oh, what reviewer? I think you said Jeremy Johns brought up the fact that the film has the heart of the original.
Yes, and I agree.
Would Okay, I was going. Would you agree with that? Because I also do.
I agree. This film is almost one for one the original film. There are any changes there are very minor and are not breaking to it. Honestly they're expanded upon scenes and a couple cutout scenes. Like and
Hmm.
that's the difference. Maybe there's some different looks in the physicality for like some of the people who were cast to play the characters, but you know, I'm not upset by that. That's things that happen in live actions in comparison. So I honestly, it had the heart. I cried. No surprise. I was crying. I mean, I'm bawling out my eyes out every time the test drive happens because that was the theme song, like the How to Train Your Dragon theme song is the song I walked down the aisle with my husband, officially as husband and wife, like from the altar. So like I'm gonna bawl my eyes out, not only because of the story of How to Train Your Dragon makes me cry, but because now that also will make me cry. So
What a dork. That's good.
thank you. Takes one to know one.
All right. Yeah, I also agree with the hearts there and everything like that too.
Absolutely.
If anything, you actually want to know what my favorite scene of both versions of this film is
I
actually?
would love to know.
It is surprisingly when Astrid and Hiccup talk after the Vikings leave to find the nest, where she
It's such a good scene.
confronts him and say, "Hey, like, tell me why did you spare him in the first place and everything like that." When you're like, he's questioning, "Why did I spare him? None of this would happen if I didn't." And Astrid's like, "Hey, why did you? Like, there's a reason for that. Like, tell
Mhm.
me, and like, be honest with yourself about it too."
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite scene. I like that scene a lot. I love it actually.
It's a very, very good scene. Fantastic
Mhm.
scene.
So, yeah. Oh, I also want to say this. Hiccup eating the fish after Toothless eats it was way worse in this one. I actually looked away. I'm like, oh,
Honestly, it was so funny because I saw it with a couple friends. My friend Lauren was like, like she was like did the whole like I don't know if I can watch this. Oh no, like very grossed out. And even other people in like the theater are all like, oh, like you just heard people do the oh no,
oh, that was
oh,
way worse. The live action. That was way worse.
way worse.
Way worse. All right. Do we have anything else to go off of?
I think I've covered everything.
I think I
Anything you're
have
missing?
too. Not that I can think of. I've given. I mean, my thoughts are just pretty much the same as I had for the original animated movie.
Awesome. So, with that being said, what do you rate the original?
I'm gonna do this at the same time because both movies have the same rating. They are both getting 7.5s.
Okay.
Almost 8, but not fully 7 because I'm like, ooh, well, no. Like, no,
Interesting.
I liked it. I liked it, but I do want to say this about How to Train Your Dragon so far, even though I haven't gotten to the third one yet. Like DreamWorks has pumped out some really damn good animated movies. Actually, How to Train Your Dragon is another one of them. Like, yeah, it is good. It is really good. Great animation, good voice. Oh wait, I forgot to say, original How to Train Your Dragon 2010. Jay Baruchel, I don't think did the best voice work at first, but I think he was better in the second movie.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but at least Mason Thames, I felt it more there. So that's the only
Okay.
criticism I'll say for the other one. But other than that, like How to Train Your Dragon are good movies. I like them, and I will watch that third one because, like, yeah, these are good. However, I can't put them fully up there. Not with some of my goats, like for one, Shrek. Like Shrek's iconic at this point. I was growing up watching that. Kung Fu Panda for its action, its weight, its storytelling and stuff. And I'm gonna be real with you, fucking Madagascar. Madagascar is up there for me strictly on comedy. Like I actually I think Madagascar, the first one, is one of the funniest movies I ever watched. How to Train Your Dragon, like okay, I finally watched and like yeah, that was good. And can I give it an eight? I think 7.5 is perfect because I like them, but I can't promise I don't know if I'd rewatch them a lot, but I do like it. I am not knocking it. I'm not hating on it. I'm not saying it's over. Like, no,
Yeah.
I like it. It's just not up there for me, but I do like it. So I think 7.5 for me is perfect.
So for me, the book, this is an 8. I loved
Okay.
this book growing up. The animated film is a 10 out of 10. The
Hmm.
actually How to Train Your Dragon is one of the many films that wanted me to become a filmmaker. There was this kind of like this awe-striking power for me when I saw How to Train Your Dragon. It hit me really deeply. I'm a fantasy girly. I said this to you already when you were over watching with me, but just for so chat knows, I would be the most insufferable person ever if I had a dragon. I would be
Oh
flying
yeah.
around constantly, like I would be Hiccup. I would live and breathe dragons. Like that would be my life constantly. Uh, um, but the How to Train Your Dragon has always had in that the old one, the original, to now this one from the book so much heart, and it is something that I bonded over with my husband. This came out before we were ever even around. Like before, sorry, before my husband and I were ever an item, and
Gotcha.
we bonded over How to Train Your Dragon, where it was in our wedding. It is something that we watch all the time. We technically have them on the Blu-ray DVDs. Like we will watch these whenever we want, countless times. With that being said, what would I rate the live action? There are changes that happen that I'm not the biggest fan of, but they aren't movie breaking for me. There
Hmm.
are a little bit of things here and there with the CGI I think that could have been a little better, but again, that's being very nitpicky. This film had the heart. It made me cry. I loved it. I think the actors did well than the ones that who weren't hitting for me got better by the end and were at where I wanted them to be by the end of the film. And for that, it's not a 10 out of 10 like the original, but it is a 9 out of 10.
Okay. I actually figured you were gonna give it a 9, just 1 point less.
Yeah. Like I both of these films, love them. I love how close they stayed to the material. I love that it's almost one for one the same film because that is what a remake is. It's not taking a film and changing it. It's taking a beautiful story and giving you updated and beautiful visuals. And that's what I think they did here.
A new way of watching it.
Yes. And
So there we go.
I can't wait for them to announce that movie 2 is coming out.
I mean, they already did. Also, if you're gonna be insufferable with dragons, I mean, I'd take a dragon too. Like I said, I'd recreate a scene from Star Trek Beyond. Actually, now that I think about it, you listen. You get dragons, right? You breed dragons, you tame them, you fly on them. I want dinosaurs. So you'll be on this in the skies, breathing fire stuff. I'll be on the ground chomping away with my Rex or my Spinosaurus.
Yeah,
It'd be a
that's
good
fair.
duo.
That's fair.
I want to I want to be like Optimus Prime in Transformers 4 on the back of Grimlock. So I'm gonna need me a sword, a shield, and a big ass dinosaur.
But what are dragons but flying dinosaurs?
I mean, sure, but you get strictly the dragon ones. I get strictly the dinosaurs. I'm gonna tame Rexy from Jurassic Park. There we go.
All right. Well, with that being said, any other thoughts before we wrap up tonight's episode?
I think I have said all of my thoughts on How to Train Your Dragon 1.
Awesome. Well,
If you guys also want my very quick opinion of How to Train Your Dragon 2, I
okay.
still like it. I still like it.
What would
I
you rate it? Would you rate it any higher?
This is weird because yes and no. Somehow it still feels like 7.5 is perfect, but okay, I'm gonna say another 7.5, but I like it more than the first one. I think
Okay.
I do.
Okay. Well, and generally, I even told you this. This is what the in my opinion, the How to Train Your Dragon films are movies that just there's always the stigma of, oh, it's the second one. It didn't need a second one. The first one was already great. But then the sequel comes out and you're like, "You know what? Fuck yeah. That was great. You guys it got better. It was like the characters grew. Like I love that you see them grow not only in just like personality wise, but you see them grow in age. You get
Age.
to see them mature and now deal with more mature topics. And then that happens again in the third one. I can't wait for you to watch the third one and to hear your opinion on all three.
So yeah, so I think the same rating fits, but I do think I like two a bit better than one.
Okay.
So yeah, I like the expanding world there actually, and oh man, they man they just got back together, and oh my favorite thing about two actually wasn't even anything. I mean, it was something real life related because I was watching and a certain dance came up and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I recognize that dance because two of my best friends did it at their wedding, and even I did it with. Oh no! I wish I remembered the wedding dance because I remember I was practicing it with Dan too. That was a lot of fun, actually.
That was a lot of
Oh, that was a good day. Dan's sister came over. We'll see you guys. That was actually a really good day. That was a great day.
fun.
All right.
All right, everybody. With that being said, we are the Wannabes podcast, and this is our review of kind of both the 2010 How to Train Your Dragon and the 2025 live action How to Train Your Dragon. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Shout out to everybody in chat, both on Twitch and YouTube. We appreciate you all. We will be live next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for none other than I believe it's supposed to be 28 years later. So
Yes.
make sure you tune in for that one. It's going to be a good episode. But I'm Morgan, and this is my co host, Dreaded. Sadly, Luke was not able to join us, but you can follow us on all of our social medias by searching up Wannabe's Podcast or Podcast Wanna. We come up either way. You're going to find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. Or I guess Twitter can also be called X. It depends on what side you're on of it. But yeah, so you have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, and LinkedIn. We are working on our TikTok and we also are working on our Spotify. So slowly but surely, we're getting everything put out over there as well. For now, everybody, we're going to love you. We're going to leave you. But thank you so much for joining. And next time, y'all, don't forget the popcorn.
If you forget the popcorn, you're gonna eat dragon regurgitated fish,
Yeah, like the
and I'm gonna
live
put it on
action one.
Pornhub. And I'm gonna put it on Pornhub too.
Oh, that's next. That's an escalation. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you next week.